Work. The phone rang. I answered it automatically. Lisa and Angela are always ringing me up, and some of the other girls in our class. I don't want to sound disgustingly boastful, but I am quite popular. But it wasn't a girl, it was Grandma. Hello, Charlotte dear, said Grandma. I told the teeny white lie to Miss Beckworth. Grandma always calls me Charlotte, pursing her lips and clicking her teeth. If you're standing right in front of her, you get sprayed with spit. I found I was holding the telephone at arm's length just in case. Can I speak to Mommy, please? Said Grandma. That's another weird thing she does. I've never called Jo Mommy in my life, but Grandma always does, as if Jo is her mummy. Though Grandma treats Jo as if she's a silly little toddler, not a grown-up woman with a practically grown-up daughter of her own. Grandma's voice is so loud it boomed right across the room to Jo. She shook her head in a panic. Say I'm not here, she mouthed at me. She'd been crying and she'd gotten to that sudden stage where everything is still dribbling. She fumbled for a tissue and blew her nose dolefully. I'm afraid Jo's just nipped out to the shops, Grandma. I lied. Don't be silly, Charlotte. It's 7:30 in the evening, Grandma said briskly. There's heaps of shops still open round here, Grandma. There's the video shop and the off-license and the bar down the road. Grandma gave a disdainful snort. Please don't argue with me, Charlotte. I know Mommy's there. I can hear her blowing her nose. I want to talk to her. Well, she doesn't want to talk to you, I said, but in a little squeaky mouse mumble as I passed the phone over. Josephine? Hello, Mom, said Jo wearily, sniffing. Are you crying? Grandma demanded. No, Of course I'm not crying, said Jo, a tear dribbling down her cheek. Say you've got a cold, I whispered, miming a major bout of sneezing. I've got a cold, Jo said, nodding at me gratefully. Why on earth should I be crying? Well, you tell me, said Grandma. Your father's just read the most disturbing item on the financial page of his newspaper. It says Elliott Electrical have folded. Jo shut her eyes and said nothing. Josephine, are you still there? Is it true? Is it a nationwide collapse? You are being kept on until they find a new buyer, aren't you? And if the worst comes to the worst, they will give you a substantial redundancy payment, won't they? Jo sniffed again, but still couldn't speak. Do say something, dear, said Grandma. We're very worried about you. We've always said you're in a very precarious position. How on earth are you going to keep up the payments on your flat if you lose your job? You and Charlotte can barely manage as it is. We do worry about you so. Jo opened her eyes. She stood up straight. She gave one last giant sniff and then spoke. Honestly, Mom, you do get into a silly state. There is no need to worry. We're fine. I feel I was ready for a change from Elliot anyway. Of course, I've known for a long time that things have been precarious with the firm, which is why I applied for my new job. I have this brilliant managerial position and a much larger salary too, so Charlie and I are very comfortably off at the moment. I really must go now, Mom. I badly need to get a hanky. My goodness, this is a terrible cold. I think I'd better have an early night with honey and hot lemon. Well, goodbye. Thanks for phoning. She said this without pausing, absolutely gabbling the last beat and then slamming the phone down quick. Then she took the receiver off again, so that Grandma couldn't call back. What? Jo said to me, wiping her cheeks with the cuff of her shirt. You know what? You told her one sucking great lie, I said admiringly. Well, I couldn't stand her going on and on like that, but she'll find out that it's not true, I said. I'm going to make it come true, said Jo. You'll see. All the tight feeling in my tummy untwisted. It was okay. Of course, Jo would get another job, easy peasy, simple pimple. She was up early the next morning, hair washed, all made up, blouse fresh on, skirt carefully pressed. When I woke up, she was walking up and down the bedroom practicing. Good morning. My name's Jo Enright. I've been the manageress of a large shop for the last year, but now I feel it's time for a change. Are there any new job opportunities in your company? She asked our bedroom wardrobe, shaking the sleeve off her dressing gown. Good morning. I am Mr. Wardrobe. Yes, Miss Enright. You can come and manage my clothes for me and I'll pay you £1,000,000 a week, I said from under the covers. Charlie, You didn't have given me a fright, said Joe. Don't make me laugh. I need to go to the loo. I'll wet the bed. I'm warning you. I giggled, rolling around. Well, get up and go, you lazy thing, said Joe, trying to tip me out. Come on, you'll be late for school, and I thought this new teacher of yours is that strict. You're telling me. Lisa and Angela and me didn't feel like playing boring old rounders yesterday, so we hid in the girls' toilet. We've done the heaps of times and no one ever thought a thing about it before. But Miss Beckworth came looking for us right into the toilets, and when we all hid in a cubicle, she peered underneath the door and said, Will the girl with 6 feet please come out of this toilet immediately? We thought we were really in for it, but she said she'd hated games at school too, and as she'd already picked the 2-rounders teams, we didn't have to play just this one time, and we thought, great. But do you know what we had to do instead? Run round and round the playground without stopping for the entire lesson. We were absolutely knackered, and every time we ran past her and begged for mercy, she said brightly, Aren't you lucky to be taking part in my rounders game, girls? She's so slippery. You can't suss out what she's going to do next. Every time you get ready to hate her, she's funny, and then when you start to think she's an old softie, she plays a trick on you. I was in the bathroom by this time, sitting on the loo. She sounds a good teacher, Joe called. She followed me into the bathroom. Do you think I look a bit older and more professional with my hair up? Yeah, I think so. Help me pin it up at the back. She's usually great at fixing her own hair, but her hands were all fumbly this morning and she couldn't eat any breakfast because she said she was too nervous. You've got to eat something. You don't want to faint dramatically in the middle of a job interview, I said. Maybe I won't get any interviews, Joe said. Then she stopped and took a big breath. No, I've got to think positive. Right, Charlie? You bet. Good luck, Joe, I said, hugging her. I hoped and hoped Joe would get a job that day. She went into town and she walked around in her high heels with this big bright smile on her face, going into all these different shops and introducing her and asking and then nodding and walking out again, over and over all day long. She came home and she kicked her shoes off and she howled. But then I made her a cup of tea and rubbed her feet and she stopped crying, and the next day she tried again and the next. A shop selling weird way out clothes was advertising for staff, but they said Joe wasn't wacky enough. A big store wanted a sales assistant for their latest dress department, but they said Joe wasn't mature enough. A snobby shop selling designer clothes made it plain. Joe wasn't posh enough. This is hopeless, said Joe, sighing. She tried record shops, but she didn't know enough about modern music. She'd been too busy bringing me up to dash down the disco. She tried bookshops because she likes reading, but the only shop with a vacancy was full of all these studenty boys in jeans making jokey remarks, and the one with the scruffiest hair and the grubbiest t-shirt turned out to be the manager, and although Joe said he was friendly, it was obvious she didn't fit. She charged out at 7 in the morning on Friday to buy the local paper, and she skimmed through all the small print looking for jobs. Nothing, she said despairingly. Well, no proper jobs. There's bar work, but I'm not leaving you alone in the evenings. Don't be daft, I'll be fine. Go for it, Joe. You could learn how to make all those great cocktails with the little cherries and toy umbrellas. It would be fun, I said. Joe went to the pub to see what it was like. It would not be fun, she said. I wouldn't be making any cocktails there, just serving pints of bitter to a lot of boring old men trying to look down my front. I could put up with that, but I wouldn't be free till 11:30 every night, and then I'd have to walk miles home unless I forked out for a taxi. And they were only paying £50 for 5 full evening shifts. We can't pay the mortgage with that. Joe went back to the local paper. The only other jobs are cleaning, she said. What do you mean? Cleaning. Like at Sketchley's, I said. No, not a dry cleaning shop. Cleaning ladies, you know. I looked at Joe. I can clean, can't I? She said. But you hate cleaning. Look at all the fights we have over whose turn it is to vacuum. Okay. But this isn't a supermarket. You get sucking great industrial cleaning machines. I quite fancy charging about with one of those. She didn't mean it, of course. She was just being brave. It's 2 hours every morning, that's all, £62, said Joe, tearing out the advert. That's not enough to pay the mortgage. I know, but look, there are heaps of other adverts for cleaners. I could go after them too. Listen, Private house cleaning, some ironing, 9 to 12, Mondays and Thursdays, £30. And then there's this one here, they want 2 hours cleaning daily plus someone to look after a little boy after school. You don't want to be lumbered with someone else's little boy, I said. I don't want to be lumbered with my own great big girl if she's going to be so picky, said Joe. Look, Charlie, I haven't got any choice. I'll keep on trying to get a proper job, but until that happens, I might as well earn what I can. It's lousy money, but it all adds up. So shut up about it, okay? I shut up. Joe phoned the supermarket and they told her to come along for an interview. She rushed off. I sat by myself, feeling fidgety. Then I got out my notepad and a big fat felt tip pen. I wrote out my own advert. Strong, reliable schoolgirl, wants work. Will do shopping, run errands, whatever you want. Apply Miss C.A.K. and write, number 38, Meadow Bank.